So a while ago I put a post on probably Renegade forum about how I don't always cut straight through a stick. Sometimes I'll leave a little hair hanging there. So I'm going to try to show this. Hopefully I can make it happen. It'll be a little loud because I'm going to put the dust collector on and the saw at the same time. I'll clean up the stick first. I'll sand a little burr off the two edges where the saw blade comes through. And then I'm going to cut out a left-handed prism block, which is one where I typically leave a little hair hanging there. I'll see how I can get it. I have a lot of practice at this. I can usually do it every time, but I'm not going to make any promises until we get there.
Okay.
So here goes. Sand the little burrs off the edge. You can see the burr there where the saw came through the stick. I cleaned that off before I put it back in the jig because sometimes it'll offset a little bit. Just a hair, but I'm pretty picky about this. So I left a little hair just down in there, and sometimes it'll break off as soon as I pick it up, and other times I have to bend it back and forth a couple of times to get it, and this one might break off right as I pick it up. There it is. So that's how I keep the stick from coming loose. So this left-handed block, if you noticed, when it was in here, it wasn't being held down. The stick behind it was being held down. If I sever it completely, this can jiggle around on the blade and sometimes get thrown. So I like to leave it slightly connected to the stick right there. And you saw how it came off the saw. It didn't throw it, but yet it came loose pretty quick right after. And there's really nothing to sand off there. Just a little teeny tiny burr that I would have anyway, even if I did sever it completely.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're over at Scott's gluing jig. So back to you, Scott.
So cutting is actually a lot of what we concentrate on and goes around in our circles, but cutting is really only about 50% of the work. The rest is gluing things together, and that's non-trivial. It's quite a challenge to take 6 puzzles that are this strange geometry and glue them all together, all 6 pieces separate, and then assemble them together like in something like a rosebud with even coordinate motion and say, voila, it all fits together just great. You know, that takes a lot of practice, and there's a lot of background work that goes behind that to make things fit just right. I won't share all my secrets of gluing, but this is one of the major pieces that I think could be an improvement on the technique that people might use. And this might be surprising to some, that I don't use any clamps, and I only use a little spot of glue when I glue these things together. Now my bottle is plugged up here.
So this just proves it's live. We haven't pre-recorded this.
Yeah, there you go. I dig this out of here and get some glue.
Now notice you've actually decanted your glue into a secondary bottle. Is that a tip?
Yeah, I think so. I like to be able to put glue on in a little drop like that, because that's really all the glue I need on a puzzle piece. If you put too much glue on, it's going to be squeezing out of the joints, and you'll never clean it all up. And then when you put the finish on, you'll see where that was, where the glue was. So I try not to get too much to squeeze out, so I just dab it around with my finger. You got to get it all the way around so that you make good contact there. And then what I do is I go around the edges and kind of clean it up just from the edge there. And depending on which kind of wood you use, you'll put a little more glue or a little less glue on it. The real dense woods will never absorb the wood at all, or absorb the glue at all, and it will just squeeze out. Some of these other woods that absorb the glue a little better and take it up into the end grain, which is what we're going to be gluing to on the side of the C block here, they can afford a little more glue, and it won't become a problem. So, see if I can get this oriented right here. So I set the block together. I press the two together down onto this flat plate. This is a granite surface plate. they're really very affordable. They're in usually the sharpening section at Woodcraft or Rockler. People use these to just wet a piece of sandpaper and stick it down here and then use it to sharpen chisels. And I found these to be very handy. So what I do is I keep rocking it back and forth because the one side makes this plane all flat, and then when I tip it up on this side, I align that edge with the side of the C block here. And I press it together a couple of times each way just to make sure I have the joint pressed together, and that's it. I set it aside and let the glue set up, and then so if I were doing a run, I would be doing one puzzle at a time. I'd be doing 6 pieces typically, lay them all out, glue one block to one side, all 6 pieces, and then by the time I get the 6th one done, this is set for a minute or 2, and then it's usually pretty solid. After a minute or 2, try to take one of these things apart. Oftentimes you'll break the grain on the side, or it'll be very difficult to get that thing apart, to pull that joint apart. So if you make a mistake, you gotta notice it pretty quickly and take it apart soon because it will firm up pretty quickly. So then that's just one. This is a left-handed prison block, and I would put the other one on very similarly. And here you have one of the pieces for like a 4 corners puzzle, or one of the pieces for a companion puzzle, for example. Just some spare pieces I have laying around the shop here.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
So that's Scott. Thanks very much for having us up.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's a pleasure to have you.